1 second, I'll start. We'll start with the prayer. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हुकुम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम् Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Wonderful. Thank you, Madhuri, for joining. I was thinking I'll wait for 5 minutes. If no one joined, I'll get out. So thank you for joining in. We will read chapter 18. We'll continue from text 49. It's the 18.49. Asakta buddhi sarvatra Gyatma Virgataspraha Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam Sanyasendi Gachati. Krishna says, one who is self control. This is a quality which is very rare to find in today's age. And unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyment can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfectional stage of freedom from reaction. So we are victim of our karmas. Whatever activities we did in previous lives, or whatever activity we are doing in this life, that decides the destination, that decides the reaction of based on the type of work we are performing. So some work is called as punya, some work is called as papa. So which is as per the scripture, some of people want to follow, they get punya and then they do papa. But the problem with both punya and papa is that we have to take again and again birth, and again we have to die. So which means any activity which is performed for the punya or papa, we have to still take birth here. But the activities which you perform in bhakti yoga, they are not affected by the punya or papa. They are beyond that, and that's how we get away with that. So what should be the mood when we perform certain activities? One has to be self control. Again, I lack that, but I this is a very important quality one should have. Self control means not going by the will of the mind. I thoroughly struggle with that. But that's the platform we want to go get into. That we become self control and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyment. Right? This is not easy, but it's a very important step in bhakti. Because when we disregard material enjoyment, whatever happens around us, I am not the enjoyer. Why are we suffering in this material world? Why are we struggling? Because we are thinking, I am the controller, right? We want to enjoy this material world. But when someone reaches to a stage where he or she is not looking for a material enjoyment, and he or she is completely renounced, not attached to the results of the work, that is the highest stage of freedom from reaction, which means we get away with karma. Prabhupada writes in the purport, very beautiful purport, real renunciation means that one should always think himself part and parcel of Supreme Lord, and therefore think that he has no right to enjoy the results of his work. There is there is one story in this connection, we may have heard it, but worth connecting to this point. So there was a villager. He had a lot of faith in God. So whatever would happen, he would say that this is probably this was the plan of the Lord, good or bad, whatever Krishna decides, that's right. So um, one time he had a horse. He had a horse. The horse actually ran away next day, and then the neighbors came and told him, "Oh, so sad that your horse ran away. You don't have anything now." So he said, "Good or bad, Krishna knows." So next day, that horse actually brought another horse with him. And then the neighbors came to him, "Oh, this is such a great news. Now, rather than one, we were thinking you just lost one, but now rather than one, you have two horses. What a great fortune." He said, "Good, this is such a good thing." He said, "Good or bad, Krishna knows." The next time, what had happened is the son of the farmer or son of this villager wanted to do a horse riding. So he went on the horse riding and he fell off and broke his leg. So villagers got to know and they came and told him, oh, saying that, so sad. So the same villager, the farmer said, good or bad, Krishna knows. So next, just few days later, what had happened is there was a war going on. So all the young people were called to join the army. Now, because his son had a broken leg, he did not have to join the army because he will not be able to serve the army. So then again, people came and told, "Oh, good that your son is not able to. He is not forced to go there because he broke his leg." And then he said, "Good or bad, Krishna knows." So that is a definition of surrender, that whatever Krishna decides, I'll follow that route. And that's a real renunciation. Understanding that I am a part and parcel of Supreme Lord. What is the meaning of part and parcel? However way Krishna wants me to dance, I will dance. When Srila Prabhupada actually came to America in 1969, he came to Boston and he wrote a poem. He said in that poem, "My Lord, I do not know why you brought me here. I don't know what purpose I have to serve here. But I'm here a puppet and you are a puppeteer. The way you want me to dance, I will dance." That is the meaning of being part and parcel of Supreme Lord. So there is no choice for me. There is no good or bad for me. And because we are part and parcel of Krishna, the result of our work must be enjoyed by the Lord, not by us. The tendency in this world is I want to enjoy whatever. If I'm earning a good salary, the money comes, I want to enjoy. I want to have a nice car. I want to have a great, nice car. I want to have a great house. I want to have great facilities. But a person who is thinking that he's a part and parcel of Supreme Lord, he offers all his work for Krishna's enjoyment. That is actually Krishna consciousness. So, another story from beautiful Krishna book. So, when Krishna was a small boy, a fruit seller came. During those days, everything was done through trading. There was no concept of money. If I'm a farmer, I will sell my vegetables, and other person whomever I'm giving vegetable, they will give me something else. Someone will give me grains, someone will give me cow milk. So that's how trading used to happen. So this there was a lady who was a fruit seller. She actually brought fruits, and she came outside Nanda Maharaj's house. And when Krishna heard that, she was calling, "Fruits, fruits, yummy fruits." And when Krishna heard that, he came out and he saw these beautiful fruits. He knew that I should get something for her in exchange of the fruit. So he went inside. In his very tiny palm, he got grains. And while he was running outside, most of the grains fell off. So when the lady came, when the lady was there, Krishna came, I want the fruits. And then she gave lots of fruits. And in return, he opened his arm. There were only few grains left. So this fruit seller was laughing, but she was very happy seeing beautiful face of Krishna. She said, "Whatever you give," and she put it in her tokri where she brought the fruits. And then when she lifted that, she realized all of a sudden it became very heavy. And she put it down and she saw her whole bag, whole tokri was filled with jewels, diamonds, beautiful ornaments, and she was amazed. So she didn't expect anything from Krishna. Whatever Krishna offered, her desire was to serve Krishna. And immediately, whatever she would ideally get, she actually got million times more than that. That is the mood when one imbibe to being the part and parcel of Krishna. By such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for the Supreme. Thus, he is not attached to anything materially, becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the service of the Lord. When another story, when Sudama was Krishna's Sakha, they went to Sandipani Muni's ashram together. They were friends there. And when they grew up, Sudama was a Brahmana, so he continued his Brahmana profession, and Krishna came and he became Dwarkanath. He became the king of Dwarka. So Sudama was in a very poverty-stricken condition. He did not have anything. He didn't even have actually money or food to actually feed his children or family. So one time his wife said, "Why don't you go to your best friend Krishna and ask him few grains? He will offer you something, and then we will live on that." So Sudama was thinking, how can I ask Krishna? But he wanted to see Krishna. So he was planning to leave next day. So his wife just gave actually chipped rice like poha. That is the cheapest item one can get. So that small item she put it she tied it in a in a cloth and she gave it to Sudama. And when Sudama came to Dwarka, he saw beautiful palaces and he came to the door of the palace of Krishna. And when the doorkeeper saw him, he was his torn clothes, he was just completely, dilapidated condition. So they were thinking, who is he? So he said to the soldiers, saying that you go and call Krishna, saying that the Sudama is here. And the moment they went and they told Krishna that Sudama from your old childhood friend has come, Krishna immediately left everything and ran towards the door. And everyone was thinking, where is Krishna running? And he actually hugged Sudama and he was crying, hugging Sudama. And everyone was amazed. Oh, he's such a poor guy. Who is he? That Krishna is having tears in his eyes. He invited him home. He made him sit on his throne and he started washing his feet. And everyone was amazed. What is going on? He asked Rukmani to actually charm her, to fan Sudama. And she was thinking, who is he? And then Krishna asked Sudama, so what have you brought for me? And Sudama was thinking, he is such a rich kingly person. What this poha will offer him? Chipped rice. So he was hiding, and Krishna saw in this cloth bag. He says, what is that? And he snatched it from Sudama, he opened it and he started eating. And Rukmani said, only are you going to finish everything, or you're going to give something to me also? And Krishna gave this to Rukmani also. And then Krishna and then they spoke for a good period of time talking about their childhood pastimes. And then Sudama rested that day in Krishna's kingdom, Krishna's palace. Next day morning, Sudama said, I got to go. My wife is there. My son is waiting, so I'll go. And Krishna says, you take something. He says, no, no, I don't want anything. So Krishna bid him farewell. And then Sudama came. And the moment Sudama reached near his house, he saw rather than a house, there was a huge palace being built. And then he saw a beautiful lady with nice, beautiful clothes and beautiful gold ornaments. And he was thinking, who is she? And then she called, Swami, please come. And he was surprised, oh, that's my wife only. What happened? This house has become a palace. So he realized he just gave little poha to Krishna, and that also he was hiding. How can I give it to Krishna? He was thinking, what can I offer to Krishna? But Krishna gave him so much abundant wealth in return. That is Krishna's reciprocation, because he wasn't attached. He was just attached to serving Krishna, seeing Krishna. So a person who is in Krishna consciousness automatically attain his perfection without even accepting the so-called order of renunciation. There are people who go to the forest, perform renunciation, leave everything. A devotee, a Krishna's devotee, never have to leave anything. He can continue whatever he is doing, but in the mood of detachment, and that's the real yoga, right? So with that, we will read to the next verse. This is text 50. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tathapnoti nibodhame संशयनैव कौन्तेया निष्ठज्ञानस्य या परा. Krishna is telling to Arjuna, O son of Kunti, you learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfection stage Brahman. So one who is actually completely detached, completely renounced, can attain the highest perfection. In this case, is talking about Brahman. So there are three levels of realizing God. One is Brahman, which is the lowest stage. Second is Paramatma, and third is Bhagwan. Bhagwan is considered to be the highest stage. In this case, Krishna is indirectly talking about Bhagwan. The stage of highest knowledge. All this mundane knowledge is of no use, but what is the highest knowledge? Understanding what is our position, who is Krishna, who are we, and what is our relationship with God, or what is our relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is going to summarize by acting in this way. I shall now summarize. Krishna is going to tell, right? So here Prabhupada mentions in the purport, the Lord describes for Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfectional stage simply by being engaged in occupational duty, performing regular duty, performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not for anyone else, but performing for Supreme Personality of Godhead. One attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the results of his work for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. We will read next one. Krishna is going to explain. This is a big verse. This is going to be 51 to 53. Buddhya Buddhya Vishudaya Yukto Dhrityatmanam Niyamya Cha Sabdadin Vishayam Styaktva Ragadveshu Vyudasya Cha Vivikta Se Vilagvasi Yatava Kaya Manasaha Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam Vairagyam Samupashrita Ahankaram Balam Darpam Kamam Krodam Parigraham Vimut Vimuchya Niramam Nirmama Santo Brahma Bhuyaye Kalpate. Krishna says, being purified by his intelligence, whoever is the renounced person, and controlling the mind with determination. Mind is can be a biggest friend, and for most of us, he's a biggest enemy, especially talking about myself. We can't, if we can't control the mind, then that is going to take us to a dead end from where we can't come back, again getting into the cycle of birth, and that giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, what I like or what I don't like. One who lives in secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful, such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self realization. So, in this verse, Krishna is talking about lot of qualities one has to have to actually reach to that highest stage. So, one has to control the mind, one has to purify the mind by reading scriptures, controlling the mind with determination, and avoiding sense gratification, not being attached to what I like and not being hatred to what I don't like, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech. Power of controlling the speech is a very difficult thing. Is a very difficult thing because people can't control their speech. It creates so many problems, right? So purport Prabhupada is writing, when one is purified by intelligence, he keeps himself in the mode of goodness. There are three modes: mode of goodness, which is the higher one, then mode of passion, which is lower than goodness, and then lower than passion is ignorance. So one who is practicing, whose intelligence is purified by reading scriptures, he generally lives in mode of goodness. Thus one becomes the controller of the mind and always in trance. Why we struggle in the material world? Because we follow the dictation of our mind. Whatever mind says, I want to do that. And when one is not attached to the object of sense gratification, like today is Ekadashi, we fast. He is not attached to the object of sense gratification and he is free from attachment and hatred in this activity. Such a detached person naturally prefers to live in secluded place because he has nothing to do with this material world. He does not eat more than what he requires. Whatever is needed to maintain the body, I'll eat only that much. And he controls the activities of body and mind. He has no false ego. Why there are so many wars between the countries, why there are so many chaos in this world? Because people have false ego. I am this, I am that, I follow this religion, I am the country head of this country, so I can do whatever I like. But that's not how we can reach to the higher stage. That person who has no false ego, he doesn't desire to make a body fat or strong by accepting so many material things, because he has no bodily concept of life. He is not falsely proud. He is satisfied with everything that is offered to him by the grace of the Lord, and he is never angry in the absence of sense gratification. Whatever comes on its accord, I'll accept that. Like six Goswamis who were followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they would only, whatever they would receive, they will eat, otherwise, they will fast. Nor does he endeavor to acquire sense object. Thus, when he is completely free from false ego, he becomes non-attached to material things, and this is the stage of self-realization of Brahman. That stage is called as Brahma Bhuta stage. When one is free from material conception of life, he becomes peaceful and cannot be agitated. Bhagavad Gita 2.770. I'll read the purport. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires, like an ocean, when all the rivers come, the ocean doesn't get agitated, right? Because ocean is always filled with water. So if there is more coming, doesn't matter to me, right? So like ocean, one can behave, can alone achieve peace, and not that man who strives to satisfy such desire. I need more, I want this, I want that, right? That is a difference, right? Any questions or comments? Okay. Read text 54. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Very beautiful words. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. A person who has realized God, he has realized Krishna, he is he becomes joyful. He has nothing to do with the outside world. He never laments, oh, I don't have that, I wish I would have that, or desire, I want this, I want that. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He's equally disposed towards every living entity because he sees, whether it's an animal, whether it's a bird, whether it's a tree, he sees everyone at the platform of the soul. And when one reaches to that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me, Krishna says. This is the ultimate destination for a bhakta. Where do we want to reach? We want to attain pure devotional service to Lord. And then at the time, Lord is already residing in us, but we also reside in Lord's heart because we are always thinking about Lord and Lord is always thinking about us. Purport Prabhupada is saying, people who do not follow personalism, which who feels God is not a person, those people are called as impersonalists. To the impersonal, achieving the Brahma Bhuta stage, becoming one with Absolute is the last word. But for the pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. What is Prahlad Maharaj is asking? Prahlad Maharaj, when Narsingadev actually offered him boon, you ask me anything. He said, let me rot in the material world until all the living entity go back to spiritual world. Let me be the servant of them. Let me take care of them. So that's the highest stage of devotional service when one doesn't desire anything, but he just wants to serve devotees. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional to Supreme Lord is already in the state of liberation called as Brahma Bhuta or oneness with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, which means thinking like the Lord, one cannot render service unto Him. Right? Like here, Rukmani is thinking, then the example which I take in the Sudama, oh, if Krishna is going to eat the poha, then he is going to fill all the treasury at Sudama's house. She is understanding Krishna's heart, what is going in. She is very happily doing a charmer to Krishna, to Sudama. In the absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor. Like I was just one other day, I went for a home program and I was just mentioning about this point that when Krishna became a chariot driver of Arjuna, and when Arjuna's horses were thirsty, Krishna took them aside and then make them drink water, and he was actually massaging the feet of horses. Because Lord doesn't think, oh, I'm the Supreme Lord, why should I do that? Because that concept is only in the false ego format. Where I think, oh, I am like this, what do you think about me? In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is a misery. Because I want that. If I don't get it, then I become miserable. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. Because that person who is performing devotional service, pure devotional service, is not affected by whatever happens around him. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, a living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself, doesn't want anything. When Prabhupada was leaving his body last day, and devotees was asking, Prabhupada, do you have any desire? Prabhupada said, Kuch ichha nahi hai. So ultimately, purpose of life is to become desireless. There is only one desire to serve Krishna. Right? He is just like a river cleansed of all dirty water. Because when a devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain because he is full in the service of Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of Supreme Lord, and therefore he eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher or someone as lower, because at the soul there is no higher or lower. Paramatma is there in everyone's heart, whether it's an animal, bird, or a plant, or a human. Higher and lower position are ephemeral, and devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearance or disappearances. When Jad Bharat was inquired. Jad Bharat was there, and he was actually being mentioned by King Rahugana. King Rahugana said, "You know who am I? I am a king." So then Jad Bharat said, "So what will happen after this life? Were you the king in the past? Are you going to stay the king?" He realized, oh, this is not an ordinary person. He is a self realized soul. And he actually had self realization knowledge from him. He became the disciple of Jadbharat. The idea in the stage of exit, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman or annihilation one's individuality becomes hellish. Because these impersonal people think we will become God. Nobody can become God. We are jivas, we will remain jivas, whether we are conditioned or whether we become purified. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria because people think, oh, I want to go to heavens. But even when we go to heavens, our senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. We think we want to enjoy, but we can't enjoy anything in the material world, even to the heavenly planet. As there is no fear of serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. Our senses are not controlled at this moment. That's why our struggle is there in practicing bhakti. Otherwise, you'll practice bhakti very easily. Talking about myself, the world is a miserable for the materially infected people because they are always looking, I want more. They want to protect what they have and they want more. But for a pure devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha or the spiritual sky, because he or she thinks everything belongs to Krishna. The highest personality in the material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee, because ultimately I have to take a birth, I have to die. So what difference does it make whether I am living in heaven or whether I'm living in America, whether I'm living in Hawaii, whether I'm living in India? It doesn't make a difference for me. I have to still die. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. Right? Any questions or comments? Okay, probably we will read this today's last verse. It is 18.55, and then there is Kirtan going on, so I'll go and join. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad Anantaram. Krishna says, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. No one can know Krishna by any other process. To know Krishna, one needs bhakti. Without bhakti, one can never understand Krishna. That's why you see, when Krishna came as a messenger to Duryodhana, saying that, okay, you don't want to give them anything, you don't want to give them the kingdom, but give them 5 forests to lead, give them 5 villages, Pandavas. At least they can, because they are the king, at least they can run the kingdom that way from those villages. But Duryodhana says, I will not give him a even place to actually put a needle. And he actually called his soldiers to actually catch Krishna, to tie him. And Krishna, everyone was laughing. Bhishma Pitama was laughing, Krishna was laughing. You're going to tie me? I can be only tied by bhakti, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, as such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. This is a wonderful consciousness. How we can actually get out of cycle of birth and death when we remember Krishna 24 by 7. And by that way, when we leave our body, we will definitely remember Krishna and we go back to God. We go back to Krishna, not coming back here and taking a birth as another human, another man or woman or a child or whatever it is, or a tree or a plant or a bird or an insect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portion cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to a pure devotional service under the guidance of pure devotee. We all need a guru. Without the guru, we need a guide. When we go to school, we have a teacher. When we go to college, we have a lecturer. Why we have to go to school and college? Because there is someone who is going to teach us. Same way in devotional life also, we need a guru who is going to teach us how to practice bhakti. Otherwise, the truth of Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. We can never understand. Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. He is not revealed to everyone. Like here, Duryodhana cannot see Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Bhishma Pitama and other devotees can see him as Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation, not by just mundane scholarship, but one has to surrender to Krishna to understand. One who is fully conversant with Krishna science, he knows how Krishna consciousness has to be practiced. That's why we are reading Bhagavad Gita, teaches us how to practice bhakti, becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there. As long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. We can never become God. And such knowledge is never vanished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness, like 24 karat gold. That's what pure devotional is all about. One should not mistakenly think that the word visate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with impersonal Brahman. They think, oh, I'll merge into the body of Krishna. I'll become Krishna. No, that's wrong. Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of Supreme Lord. One can enter where Lord resides to engage in his association and render service to him. What do Vrajavasis do? They are always serving Krishna. When Krishna goes with Gopas to the forest and they sit, they are hungry for lunch. One Gopa says, "Oh Krishna, my mom cooked kachoris for you. Why don't you have them?" And another Gopa says, "Oh Krishna, my mom sent rasgulla for you. Why don't you have them?" They are not thinking about I want to eat. They want to give everything to Krishna. That's the consciousness. And those kind of people live with Krishna. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree. That green bird does not become a tree, right? It just identifies itself with the tree. Impersonal generally give the example a river flowing into the ocean and merging. The rivers, when they merge into ocean, they don't lose their identity. This may be a source of happiness for impersonal, but personal keeps his personality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with this ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of aquatics living in the ocean depth. Just swimming for some period of time will not help. One has to learn if we want to live in ocean. Because of pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and opulences of Supreme Lord and Truth. As mentioned in 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. Crystal clear. This verse is again and again emphasizing we can only attain that spiritual abode, or we can only understand Krishna by practicing devotional service and purify our existence. And after attainment of that Brahma Bhuta stage of freedom from material conception, devotional service begins by once hearing about the Lord. What are we doing right now? We are hearing about the Lord. We are hearing about the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. That is how our constitutional position revives. That's how we start walking towards purifying our existence. When we hear about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahman Bhuta stage develops and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. When Parikshit Maharaj was told that you're going to die in 7 days, what did he do? He left everything, sat near Mother Ganga, hearing without eating and drinking, he heard for 7 days. Wasn't he feeling thirsty? Wasn't he feeling hungry? But he crossed over that stage. That is the power of hearing. When one hears attentively, they can actually experience that. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of Lord. Because I don't have any personal choice, I don't have any personal agenda. Everything I want to do is for the pleasure of the Lord. And in that state of life, one can understand the Supreme Lord, what is going in Lord's heart. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam also say. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental continues. Right? So that's the whole idea about that thing. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of Supreme Lord. We are just Anu, small particle, and Krishna is like Vibhu, right? And our position, what is our position right now? We are serving Maya, we are serving this body, we are serving everyone who is in connection with the body. But real service is serving Krishna, even while serving the family with the intention that I want to please Krishna, I want to bring them closer to Krishna. That is what real liberation is all about. So, with that, we would like to end today. Any questions or comments here? Okay, if there are none, thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, Shila Prabhupada ki Jai. We will continue next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Thank you.